Well, thank you for joining me. I know your time is very precious. First question, we know that the DNC has really wanted to put an emphasis on elevating diverse voters this year. Obviously, this is the first official primary for the DNC. You're here in South Carolina. Talk about what it means. Talk about what the black vote means for the Biden-Harris campaign, specifically young voters, specifically black males.
Yes, well, let me start by saying I'm so happy to be back in South Carolina. It's at least, I think, my third trip to South Carolina in the new year. And I think 10 trips to South Carolina since I've been vice president, of course, many times before that. And South Carolina, listen, it as a state represents so much of who we are as a country. And I feel very strongly, I know the president does. The way South Carolinians are doing is a measure of how we're doing as a country. And so spending time here is important to help inform our priorities and to make sure that we are actually having an impact. And so I think about, for example, the work that we have done around access to high-speed internet. We are on track to make sure that every family in America, including in rural America, and South Carolina, of course, has so many rural communities, has access to and can afford high-speed internet. I'll tell you, from years ago, spending time in rural parts of South Carolina, that point was brought home to me. How many families did not have access, be they small business owners or people with young children needed to do their homework online? So that's a big issue. And that's a big issue that impacts all people, regardless of their race. But if you look at where folks are in terms of rural America, you're looking at specific demographics. And of course, young people. When I think about the work that we have done in terms of HBCU funding, South Carolina has a number of HBCUs, South Carolina State, and looking at it, and I say that as a proud HBCU graduate, we've already invested over $7 billion in our HBCUs. I think that's going to mean at least $60 million from the South Carolina State. So these are some of the issues. Another issue.
What we have done to pardon tens of thousands of people for simple marijuana possession under the federal law. Because frankly, nobody should have to go to jail for smoking weed, right? And so these are some of the things that we have done that I think really do resonate with young people, with black voters, with young black voters, with young black men.
Hello everyone, us a guy from Drinking Gourd. Thanks for tuning in. Today is going to be a wild one where we go over an interview with Kamala Harris that's going to be insightful, painful, hilarious, and scary all at once. She's a heartbeat away from the presidency. But first, I want you to notice it took her over 2 minutes to answer the question. And then she insults black men by associating them with only smoking weed. But don't worry, there's plenty where that came from. You got something in your eye.
And there's more to do. I mean, for example, access to opportunity. A lot of my work and the work of our administration has been to get more money into community banks that will then provide access to capital for young entrepreneurs who want to start a business, who have a great idea, whether it'd be to start a shop of some sort or to invest in and think about how they can participate in the manufacturing that we are funding here in South Carolina as it relates to electric vehicles.
Did you ever notice, excuse me. Did you ever notice how her hands just wander aimlessly around? I mean, I'm a black kid from the Bronx and I talk with my hands too. But she always looks like she's guiding in a plane,
And women's reproductive rights is an issue that you've cared about even before being vice president.
Yeah.
It's on the ballot this year.
Yes, it
and
is.
it's something
Yes,
that
it
Americans are talking about, especially after Roe v. Wade was rolled back a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Talk about the importance of that issue to your campaign, to the Biden-Harris administration.
Well, let me first talk about it as the priority and issue it is for the American people. I travel around our country, including, again, here in South Carolina, and women talk to me about this issue. The people who have women in their life talk to me about this issue constantly, which is that the highest court in our land took a constitutional right that had been recognized.
She can lie with the best of them. Without getting sidetracked, abortion was not a constitutional right. It was a judicial decision, which was then overturned by another judicial decision. So what she's saying is that when a decision goes her way, it's good. But if it doesn't, then it's overturned law.
Switching gears again, 77% of voters believe President Biden's age is a problem. What do you say to calm those concerns?
I work with President Biden every day, whether we are in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. And I can tell you, we have in our president somebody who is a bold thinker. We have somebody who thinks around the corner, and we have somebody who cares about the American people and has them in mind every day. It is President Biden, not previous presidents who talked about it, but President Biden got done the infrastructure bill, which is now about billions of dollars that are hitting the streets of America to upgrade roads and bridges and airports. It is President Biden, you talk about young voters, who took on the issue of the climate crisis. And now we are on track to invest $1 trillion in dealing with what are the effects of this extreme weather and what we can do to reduce the impact. It is President Biden who said, hey, we need to take on the issue of student loan debt because we understand, and he understands, our young people in particular, young families, are burdened by that debt in a way they can't start a family or buy a home.
You ever notice how liberals never actually listen to themselves? I mean, she just said that families have too much debt to start a family. But to her, it all makes sense. I mean, remember, she's a person that gives speeches like this.
I went home one day and I said, well, why are conservatives bad, Mommy? Because I thought we were supposed to conserve things.
Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
I think one of the concerns that Americans have about the age is just older people have, more health issues. It's a real thing. What do you say to those concerns? And specifically, if he had to pass the powers to you for 1 second, 1 minute, heaven forbid, and I ask with all due respect, but are you capable? Are you ready to step into the role and do whatever the country would need?
I'm absolutely ready. But thank God, our president is in good shape, in good health, and is ready to lead in our second term.
Yeah, right. She's ready to lead the free world like I'm ready to give birth. Dad bod in the house. Now let's remember, she's our border czar. Kamala was given one job, and this is how she handled it.
Do you have plans to visit the border?
Not today.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
But you are, Blanche. You are.
For 3 years, she's neglected the border. We've had upwards of 10 million illegal immigrants cross the border in the last 3 years. And now they want another shot at it in order to finish the job.
And the border, was a huge issue. Big problem, obviously, when you guys took over office 3 years later. I know you had a role in kind of shaping the policies that exist now. Talk about, your role in shaping the policies over the past 3 years, and explain to Americans why the Biden-Harris administration deserves another term to help continue to fix or reevaluate what's going on at the border.
So it is no secret that we have a broken immigration system, and it's been broken for a long time. I mean, the folks who have been around for a while who are watching this will remember Ronald Reagan was trying to fix it. President Bush was trying to fix it. John McCain was trying to fix it. And thankfully, at least at some point, there was some understanding that this is a bipartisan or a nonpartisan issue. We need to deal with a broken immigration system. So we came in, and the first bill we offered, the day after we were inaugurated, President Biden and myself, was a bill to fix this issue, an immigration bill to fix this issue around the border, around a pathway to citizenship.
Then Trump fixed it. Biden rolled back every policy and opened up the border. We see you. She's definitely a politician. They create a problem that they won't fix, then blame others for it. She takes us for idiots.
They have not taken it up. Because you see, they're now openly talking about elected Republicans in Congress and others who want to get back to the White House are openly saying they prefer to run on the problem than fix the problem.
Can the Biden-Harris administration fix the problem?
Let me finish. And so we have offered a bill that is a solution. The solutions are at hand. We have most recently requested $14 billion to put at the border to address the problem.
This is a classic bait and switch. This is where we play with the word problem. You see, when she says problem, and she mentioned this earlier, the problem is the pathway to citizenship, not stopping the illegal immigrant flow, not stopping the human trafficking, the drugs and fentanyl crossing the border. The money she mentioned to fix the problem is just for more people to process more people.
They're not taking it up because there are Republicans in Congress, elected Republicans, who prefer now are openly saying, we like this as a political issue. Instead of participating in a solution, we're offering a solution. We've been offering a solution. We continue to offer a solution. How is it that somebody who has been elected to be a leader and knows there's a problem and knows there's a solution at hand will let it go on for the next 9 months when it can be fixed? And that's what we're looking at in Washington, D.C., and it's a crying shame.
This is the part that really pisses me off. She's playing politics with all of our lives. Not only are these illegals, and yes, they're illegal, choking the life out of our cities and our resources, they are taking lives literally. Laken Riley is just one example. There are plenty more that we'll probably never hear about because the mainstream media chooses to ignore these stories in order to protect this administration. They have blood on their hands, and they're just spinning the narrative.
In terms of my work has been to deal with the root causes. And so I have been able to actually pull together private sector investments in our country to invest over $4.2 billion to address the root causes of why people are leaving specific countries. And we've seen great success with my initiative, the Root Causes Initiative.
10 million illegals. She's a failure with a capital F. Let me save her some money. They're coming here because their country is a shithole and they're unwilling to fix it. Where's my $4 billion? This is what she calls success.
Because here's the bottom line. A lot of these folks are fleeing a country where they can't take care of their family and their basic needs. And thankfully, we have U.S. business leaders who have worked with me saying we need to help them strengthen their economy around not having these folks leave, but stay where they are because that's what they want to do. But we need to provide some assistance in terms of strengthening their economies so that they don't need to make the trek to come to our country if they don't want to.
Did you notice right at the end what she says? If they don't want to? Of course they want to. They know that if they come to America, they're going to get food, shelter, clothing, and even a cell phone. On top of that, Mayor Adams in New York City wants to give them $1,000 a month. Now, I don't know about you, but I could use $1,000 a month. I know we spent a lot of time on this subject, but this is the number one problem we have here in America. We cannot sustain these numbers.
A quick question about the economy. The data is there. Economy is booming, but not a majority of Americans, but a lot of Americans still have concerns about the economy. Where's the disconnect? How's the Biden-Harris administration bridging that gap?
So, listen, we still have work to do, but in the last 48 hours, to your point, independent economists have made it clear we have the strongest economy of any nation right now, including so-called developed nations. We have historic low unemployment, including historic low Black unemployment. Wages have outpaced inflation. You look at consumer confidence, all these things that economists talk about. We are looking at mortgage rates coming down. We have created over 14 million jobs, over 850 new manufacturing jobs, many here in South Carolina around what we're going to do around the electric vehicle battery production and manufacturing right here in the United States. So there is good work that has happened under our administration that has been about strengthening the economy. We still have more work to do, no doubt.
The gaslighting is so hot, I bet you it can be seen from space. She spewed so many lies. Of course we still have the number one economy in the world. And if you guys lose that status, we're done for. Wages have certainly not outpaced inflation. She wants you to ignore your paycheck, your bills, your budget, and believe her. You're doing great. You just don't know it. This economy is a disaster, plain and simple, and no amount of spin, lies, or contortions would change that fact. You see it, I see it, we all see it. I don't want to end on such a bad note, so let's get back to making fun of her and how she speaks.
I love Venn diagrams, so I just do. Whenever you're dealing with conflict, pull out a Venn diagram, right? And so, you know, the three circles. And so I asked my team, right? They're fantastic. Out right now. Think of it then in the context of, like, I like to think about a lot of things in the context of a Venn diagram. I love Venn diagrams. Always ask, is there a Venn diagram for this? I'm telling you. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know? She understood what was possible, unburdened by what has been. We have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been. Have to believe in what can be, unburdened by what has been.
And we must always see who we can be, unburdened by who we have been.
More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and saying, we're not paying them nearly enough.
Because there's an interesting fact, in case you didn't know, hard hats are actually unisex. Everybody's laughing.
Yes, everybody's laughing at you. You see, if we don't laugh, we're going to be crying. Thanks for tuning in. And remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment on this video. If you like this shirt, we have plenty more. Go ahead and visit the link in the description below. Thanks. See you next time.